I've been trying to at least transition back over to consistently talk about pro wrestling. But pro wrestling, they always do this thing where they get this spark of relevance until they completely flop over in the meantime. Like when it comes to a premiere signing, because whenever it's a premiere signing, it's just a legend that we already know that can't draw like they previously had to do. And that's what AEW has flopped over the past 3 years. We can go over the recent acquisitions. We can go over that they have better talent. But in season wise, they are still doing the same things. That's not made them more successful than they already should be. They have three flopping live televised networks. They have bought over a dying indie fed just to get their library and then devalue the former televised product by putting it not even on its own exclusive streaming service. They put it on YouTube to die over as its own rip-off Elevation, and then waste Edge's time there. MJF has already flopped as a world champion. Handman Adam Page, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Sammy Guevara has already flopped over with their name value being even incorporated into the roster. And that's sad too, because I had high expectations on MJF becoming a premier heel for the company. But he has more exclusivity just being a babyface. Thinks he's more over as a top heel world champion, and yet here he is playing chase with the actual heel Jay White. And Jay White, and the saddest thing is Tony Khan thinks, let's go in to get butts into those tarped seats. Let's get Bullet Club and make it called Bullet Club Gold and make the top heel challenging for the world championship out of any of the other guys, out of Kenny Omega, Adam Copeland. At least guys that are favorites over on the televised product that you guys advertise, and you make it be basically no names that barely even draw over the general audience that's even catching the attention of the world championship and already getting rid of your ranking system. So the importance of even wins and losses already inconsistent as it is. If you're just going to make this storyline based to begin with, if you guys are not going to follow your own project, the roster is completely warped. And I think even the most hardcore AEW fans or any hardcore marks that I've listened to over the past year have even had the same critiques as anybody else that's at least anti-smart or casual viewers trying to at least watch the product, and yet we're still having the same problems in 2019 like we are having in 2023. And we are now years into the product. Guys that are now seasoned, there's already a general audience with AEW, and I think a lot of people kind of give not a lot of flack, or at least more expectations over on the AEW side of things than we should. Because who's really gotten over? Who's really developed into a top star? And the biggest blow had to be getting Cody Rhodes the hell up out of there. Because at least Cody Rhodes, when he left WWE, he was flopping over in storylines. He didn't have a really definitive character. He was struggling over in the mid card when he was feuding over with Goldust, and he was just another transitional mid card that you could have just slapped the Intercontinental title to, and nobody would care. And now, as soon as he elevated his name value, he became more seasoned over how the business is, especially running a part of his own company, learning how to be more sacrificial for the other roster, and actually developing more of a caricature for himself. He comes back as a more, at least above top mid-card star, where the guy's beating people like Brock Lesnar now, when he could barely beat guys like Neville when he was on the roster, okay? And AEW really dropped the ball on him. And we could push it over on creative, the fan base. And I just feel like it's over on Tony Khan because he just has such an issue with trying to push over the needle and trying to get any reality contorted into his wrestling product. And it really forces the roster to just stagger in conservativeness. And whenever you stagger in conservativeness, you kind of stick over the same issue. Tony Khan's not willing to push the envelope. He needs like more of a creative block, and you have all those veterans you're signing, obviously for recognizability, and because you have very little confidence over your own original roster. Yet you'll sign Morrison. You have Jarrett wrestling. You have Ric Flair trying to make appearances live televised when he's already out of, nearly his lifespan. He takes another bump. That's another second off his lifespan. Sting just stumbling and fumbling, having his little echelon high spot. Adam Copeland trying to push over relevance, and I can understand Triple H was terribly booking him after his return, having him look like a lower carder, and I understand Edge probably doesn't mind it because he's trying to get the younger guys over. Wasting guys like Brian Cage, wasting people like Jade Cargill that she had winning their women's mid-card belt that they just introduced, not even trying to push her over to the envelope when she was like headlining with Cody Rhodes and Shaq one time. And he knows he has people that can actually push over the envelope, or at least when they build over momentum, he doesn't think, how can I make this work? I need guys to advise how to build. And then they end up fumbling the ball. You can say the same thing about Wardlow, Powerhouse Hobbs, Adam Cole when he was actually relevant there on the roster, Roosh, or like when they picked up Vikingo to just do a couple of high spots with Kenny Omega. And then they just don't, and Tony Khan just doesn't think, what else can I get more out of these people so we can build over our audience, instead of just try to just think that a match is going to sell it. And that's why sometimes the roster plateaus. And then whenever you're trying to build over a new audience, and somebody's just thinking, well, I get why you're a fan of the company, but I don't understand why I should still keep watching this. It gets agonizing to think about it. Because there's no goddamn way you can tell me I can be consistently watching AEW if it doesn't feel like anything's transitioning from how it was from January to now how it is in November of 2023. And it just feels like certain people are in the same level as they were from just a couple months ago. They'll probably do the same thing with Swerve. They'll do the same thing with guys like Roderick Strong. And then they just keep trying to enforce the Ring of Honor aspect in all of this, while still trying to make themselves integral. Like, it's okay, it's cool to just cross promote your other companies that nobody else is even watching, and try to think that's going to be more influential when you already have your own company, your own televised programming, your own belts, your own people that you exclusively sign, by the way, to try to feel like you're just different from the other company. No, you're not. And I don't think AEW fans are ever going to accept that. So, you guys tell me down below if you think AEW's roster has plateaued or something, bro. I just can't. I can't watch it sometimes. I can't. I can barely even talk about it over in the channel anymore, because it just feels like rinse and repeat. Nobody gets over. Nobody feels like they're changing. No, and you can even see it over the stagnant audience, that there's not a handful of wrestlers that can even light over their casual viewers to exceed what they had from when they were during even the pandemic. So it gets annoying to even see a lack of change in the roster. Because there's no identity with the roster. There's no development with the roster. And the more Khan just thinks of bringing more guys in, the more he still doesn't get over the bigger picture. And just sooner than later, around 2025, he might be getting the same audience as Impact Wrestling. I mean, TNA. Foreshadowing January. So, hopefully, you guys understand. Or not, I really don't care. That's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, had a good Veterans Day. And subscribe if you want to see further content.